Hi, I'm C.C. Péan, and this is Reclaiming Your Health.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reclaiming Your Health. Okay, there we go. That's perfect. You're seeing a little bit of the light over there. Welcome to Reclaiming Your Health. We have a special guest this evening. She's in town from the Bahamas, and so Stacey has so much personality. We thought, let's add her to the mix this evening, and she's gonna really help us. There's a lot of information tonight as we prepare this dish. And so we have been talking about heart health, we've been talking about brain health, we've been talking all these different things. Tonight we are going to work on quinoa energy bites, and we're going to focus on the role that sugar plays in our body and substitutes for sugar. When we think about health, sugar is one of the greatest issues that we deal with. Sugar is a carbohydrate. Carbohydrates are not all bad, but simple carbs are not good for us. The reason they're not good is because when you take in a simple carb and you don't burn it off, guess what happens? It turns into fat, okay? And we are trying to eat in such a way that we maximize the nutrients. We have nutrient-dense foods. We have substantive meals. We have foods that we get all the energy that we need from it and we get rid of the rest. When we eat things like concentrated sugar, when we eat things like processed and packaged foods, they give us a jolt of energy, but then we crash down. What we're making this evening is something that you can substitute. It'll give you a lot of energy. And because of the ingredients that we use, your insulin levels are not going to spike. They're going to stay like this. So that means you're satiated longer, right? So that is what this dish this evening, they're energy bites, but we're going to call it a dish. That's what this dish is going to do. We've got great ingredients in it. This dish is featuring quinoa. We're going to break down what these particular ingredients do for your body in just a bit, but we've got some cooked quinoa. We have got some almond butter, some creamy, unsalted almond butter. There's no place for Jiffy or Peter Pan or what's another peanut butter. Any of those processed peanut butters that you get in the grocery store, that's not going to work in here. I will say, if you have a nut butter allergy, if you can't do nut butter, you can also do seed butter. And it substitutes the same measurements and it's just as delicious. But this evening, we're using creamy, unsalted almond butter. We have some flax meal. This is what's going to help bring it all together. It's going to serve as a binder. We've got some vanilla. We've got some grade A maple syrup. And we've got some gluten-free rolled oats. Okay? We're going to get into a series on gluten soon enough, and I'll remind you about these oats. But these are gluten-free rolled oats. You won't even taste the difference. You won't even know that we've substituted for regular oats. So the reason why I wanted to do this recipe tonight was because so often when you're transitioning your diet, or even when you're not, when you're on the go and you're hungry, you try to grab something real quick. And oftentimes what we grab, oftentimes what's most convenient are processed and preservative-packed foods. Even those energy bars that you buy that you think that they're good, like the Kind bars, there's so many of them. They are processed. You might as well eat a candy bar. So what we are showing you this evening is how to make your own energy bites that will give you that energy. They're satiating, but they're good for you, okay? So Stacey is going to help us. We're going to talk a little bit about our ingredients. Stacey, what can you tell us about almond butter? What's so great about almond butter?
Well, one of the great things about almond butter is one, it tastes good and it's so incredibly healthy. It's full of fiber, which we need in our diets. It's full of magnesium and calcium. And one of the things that you can do that's really fun with this is you can use the chocolate almond butter if you want, another flavor for it. I said this was a really fun thing. I'm glad that I'm here tonight because Cynthia knows that sugar is one of my things. I'm a candy bar person. I am that processed bar that I've told myself is so healthy, but I've also got young kids who are also trying to snack. So this is a really great recipe. So almond butter is also something you can spread on crackers or on a piece of, fruit, and it tastes really, really good. So those are one of the substitutes that is good. This one's the natural, easy one that you can make.
Okay, and so tell us about quinoa. Quinoa is the star of this recipe.
Yes.
What can you tell us about quinoa?
Quinoa, first of all, is a superfood. It is full of fiber. It is full of protein. I was told, and I'm sure Cynthia can back this up, that quinoa is actually something that you can eat and survive on. Like if there was nothing else almost nothing else that you were eating, it is that much of a superfood. So I know like in South America, in some countries in South America, they'll make a quinoa porridge in the morning. That's to get that day started off right. And then they make various meals with quinoa. So this is a really great superfood. It seems like it's been, something new that we've been adding to our diet in the last couple of years. But remember when Dane was born?
I was just about to talk about that.
When my oldest son was born, he had a milk intolerance. My breast milk wasn't coming down after the first couple of weeks. And we actually made quinoa milk for him. And his doctor started sending other mothers to me because he was like, whatever it is that you're using, he's doing really well on. I actually made a milk out of quinoa. So this is really a good superfood right here.
Okay, quinoa milk, that's great. And I'm glad because I was gonna ask you about that. I don't know if anybody has ever tried that, but that is a great way to get a lot of this nutrition. So in the morning, you can actually make a quinoa porridge and use quinoa milk with that, and you're really getting a lot of fiber. And let me mention why fiber is so important, because Stacey and I had this conversation recently. Fiber is what keeps you regular. It contributes to colon health. We want to make sure that our body, our digestive system is getting rid of everything. And the number one way to do that is fiber and water, okay? So now let's talk about oats. We're doing gluten-free oats, and I told you I was gonna do a series on gluten, but let's talk about oats. What is so great about oats?
Zinc, iron, again, fiber. You see that keeps coming up in all of these healthy items. We need that fiber. And it has lots of antioxidants as well. And it just tastes good. I mean, who doesn't love oats? I mean, come on. That's a really good thing.
And so you know that a few weeks ago we talked about antioxidants, and antioxidants are what contain free radicals. So as we're just going about our life, as we're walking down the street, we're inhaling exhaust from cars. We, the cell phones that we use, all of these free radicals are in the air. And when you eat antioxidants, it arrests those free radicals and it limits their ability to do damage to your body. So antioxidants are found primarily in things like berries. We've talked about that. Berries are antioxidant superfoods, but you can also find antioxidants in oats. So when we talk about food being your medicine, this is what we're saying. That if you eat food as close to its natural state as possible, you are literally getting everything you need. You have to eat the rainbow, eat food as close to its natural state, and you cannot go wrong. Not only can you heal your body, but you can be proactive at keeping diseases from setting in. All right, so the next thing, I love maple syrup. The next thing in here is maple syrup. Tell us about maple syrup.
Well, maple syrup, that's where we get our sweetness from. And so many of us grew up eating the not great form of maple syrup. But the more enlightened we get, we realize that it needs to be a grade A maple syrup. It needs to be in its purest form. And it adds a little sweetener to these balls because we still want them to taste good. And it adds a natural sweetness. You can't substitute honey, but why? The maple syrup gives it a nice flavor.
Okay, and then flax seeds. Flax seeds go into it. I mentioned that flax seeds are what helps bind it.
Yes.
Flax seeds are also great. I've shared with you all. They're great if you have any kind of inflammation, if you have high blood pressure, if you have diabetes. It's mucilaginous. That, along with chia seeds. Where are our chia seeds? I must have put them away. They are mucilaginous, and what they do as well is they swell and they keep your insulin levels from spiking. So that's the role that flax seeds play. But let's talk a little bit more about them while I go grab our chia seeds.
Okay, flax seeds also are very high in omega-3s, and that's so important for our bodies. And you know, flaxseed, it doesn't like take over. That's one of the things I like about flax. So you can throw that into a smoothie in the morning, and you know, as well as chia seeds. I know that Cynthia has made her chia pudding on here before, and which if you have not tasted it, I can promise you that it is so delicious.
Delicious and creamy.
And yes, very creamy. And so these are things that you can add into your diet that you're not feeling like, oh, what does that taste? You know what I mean? And they're just super great for you.
All right, let's talk about chia seeds. Chia seeds, you know, these can be a little tricky because they when these get near liquid, they do almost have like a coating that goes around them.
Yeah.
So you can grind them up and make them more like a powder, but I actually kind of like the little crunchiness that comes from it. So I leave them like this when I use them in recipes. But tell us about the chia seeds.
Well, fiber, once again, we keep talking about that fiber, and it's so incredibly important. Protein, calcium, manganese. Those are just some of the benefits that we can draw from the chia seeds. And like I spoke about the chia pudding, that's another dessert that you're making from the chia seeds. It's like, why not make our desserts taste really good?
And something that I've shared with you all, and Stacy and I were talking about this earlier today as well, is that your taste buds regenerate every 7 days. So as you're making these better choices, you're actually going to tweak your palate, and you're going to want more of this clean food. And when you taste something like a candy bar, it's gonna really taste sweet and artificial. You're gonna lose your taste for it. You're eating pure food, and your palate will adjust to it. So the final ingredient, and then we're gonna get going, is vanilla. So tell us about vanilla.
Well, vanilla, it's a flavor. It gives a nice flavor to your energy bites. And you can also substitute, if there's another flavor that you like almond, perhaps you can put that in there. But vanilla is always really great. And we always want to try to get the best grade of these items. So you always try to get a grade A maple syrup. You always try to get a pure vanilla extract. It's, a lot of times
not essence.
You don't want the essence, and you don't want any of the extract that has alcohol in it. You want a pure vanilla extract. It does cost more, but how we often say, how much does medicine cost? So if you allow your food to be your medicine, then you want to invest in really great foods.
Okay, so we've started out by cooking our quinoa. We are going to use about 1.5 cups of quinoa in here, and I'm going to start with my my almond butter, I'm sorry. We're going to use about 1/2 cup, and I might be in trouble here because what I should have done, I should have mixed this, and I haven't, but that's going to give us a good workout. So we've got, this is about 1/2 cup here. We're going to put our 1/2 cup in there. What is next?
Okay, we're going to use 1/2 cup of, 1.5 cups of the cooked quinoa.
Okay. Here is and it doesn't matter, you can use the tricolor quinoa, you can use the, just the plain white quinoa, it doesn't matter.
That's why I have to make it a little more.
It says 3/4 cup? Oh, I thought I used I thought it said 1/2 cup. Okay, I stand corrected. Let me add a little more.
I'm supposed to be calling out the recipe for her.
Okay.
We'll add a little more of the almond butter.
Okay.
And see, and that's how you can tell when it's natural, because naturally the oil will rise to the top. You just want to take a little time and just, mix that in. little arm work
So
there.
there we go with that. That's 3/4.
It smells so good.
Okay, what's
A
next?
cup of water.
Okay. We've got our filtered water here. Let's see, what did I say about the water? Okay. Let's see how this goes. I don't recall that.
Okay.
Okay, what's next?
We're gonna have a cup of oats.
Okay, a cup of oats. Okay. Oops, got stuff everywhere.
That's all right. It's all natural.
And what's next?
We're going to add a half cup of the maple syrup.
Now let me tell you all, something that you're gonna learn is just because something is healthy, it doesn't mean that you can eat copious amounts of it, all right? It wasn't? Okay, what's next?
And then we are going to add 3 tablespoons of the ground flax seeds.
We've got 3 tablespoons, 1. And these have to be ground. It's so easy. What I typically do is I buy the flax seeds and I grind them as I need them. And I store my flax seeds or my flax meal typically in my refrigerator so it doesn't get rancid.
Yeah. And then we're going to need 3 tablespoons of chia seeds.
Okay, chia seeds. And then what's next?
And then we're going to have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract.
1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Yeah. And
Ooh, you can look at that and see that's a good vanilla.
yeah, I got this from Trader Joe's. It's an alcohol-free vanilla extract. Now I'm going to be honest with you all. The water was not supposed to go in here. The water was part of the
Cooking of the
quinoa. Cooking of the quinoa. So we may have a little bit of an issue here, but we've got some more quinoa. So if I have to put that in there, I will do that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get going, just combining this. Yeah, we're going to need. So folks, well, if you follow the recipe, the actual directions, you'll know not to add the water. So apologies, but sometimes, you make these mistakes. And actually, this might make a really good porridge.
It smells so good.
This might make a really good porridge. Or there's this thing called overnight oats. I know many of you have seen that. And that's basically something like this. And you just pour, you just would pour like a plant milk over it. And you put it in the night before in a bowl, you cover it, and then the next morning you come and it's ready to go.
Especially with those chia seeds. Oh man, like you said, it forms a little coating over them and that makes it so nice.
But what I'm gonna show, we're gonna see if we can rescue this by putting the rest of that quinoa in here. So you all remember, the water is for cooking the quinoa. It does not go in the recipe. I'm gonna have to add some more oats to this. If you could grab the oats. And again, sometimes things do not work out perfectly fine. That's okay. Some of the best recipes, some of the best dishes have been created by just a little more. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've put about.
Yeah, I actually watched an interview with a chef who was saying that some of her best recipes were created because she was experimenting and or made a mistake and figured out something else and it came from that. Okay.
So what we're actually doing is we probably doubled this recipe. So I'm going to be eating quinoa protein bites
And my boys.
for a while. Feeling a little better. But we really want, we want to be able to roll these into balls. They have to go into the refrigerator to firm up. A great thing about this recipe is you can actually make a large amount of them and you freeze them. And you can take them out as you want them, as you need them. So if you end up making a large amount, don't feel like you have to eat them all at one time. So what I say with these protein bites, what I do, sometimes in the morning I'll have a cup of tea and I'll have a protein bite. Or in the afternoon, if I want a little something sweet, I'll have a protein bite and with some water or something like that.
And one of the other things that I find out when you make natural items like this, it takes a little longer to chew them. And so it gives you that feeling that you've been eating, that you've been doing something. And it also makes you feel satisfied or satiated longer because it takes longer to break down in the system. And that's what we talk about, just to reduce the insulin spike and that sugar rush. So this is a really good idea.
So this may be, I think this may work. So if you could grab that pan, we'll see if these can roll. Just see if this works. Yep, it worked. So we were able to save it. And what you're gonna do, I like to have my hand a little damp because that way it's not gonna stick when I roll it.
Okay.
Yep. If you want to use gloves, that's fine. Stacey wants to use gloves, but just make sure you have like a little bowl of water or something nearby because that'll help you. And we've just got one just like that. I'll use the spoon and you can use that. And we're just gonna roll away. You've got a few more minutes.
I'm learning the chef's way on rolling. Okay.
So you just kind of back and forth, kind of volley in your hand. Yep, just like that. You can add coconut to this. If you want to add shredded coconut to this, you can add nuts to this. You can add raisins. You can add dates. You can use cranberries, dried blueberries. There's so many different things you can do with this. Yeah, you really can. Like we could do half of these one way and we can stop and just drop some coconut flakes, unsweetened coconut flakes. We don't want to put the sugar back in there. And it's great.
You know, one of the fun things about cooking, and especially when you're cooking for yourself, and it's different when, Cynthia's a chef, she, has to present food a certain way, but things like this is fun.
Oh yeah, and your kids can do this with you. Your kids can do this with you. You won't get annoyed with them. You can just say, look, this is what we're doing, and they have so much fun making them, and everybody can have their own bowl, and they can add their own different ingredients. It's great. And then your kids aren't bothering you for those Snickers or those Mounds or any of those things. Children, we teach them what to eat. I have a nephew, C.C., and I always laugh because C.C. would come to visit us in LA. They live in Northern California. And C.C. had no appetite whatsoever for junk food. He didn't like soda. If he had a piece of cake, he would say it was too sweet. He liked real, pure, healthy food. Now, he was a child then. I don't know if he's still doing that. But the message that gave me was that children will eat what you give them to eat. My client that I just finished cooking for, Garrett Cole, his son, he doesn't eat any junk food either. If he wants soda, they give him fizzy water, and he's 2, so he thinks he's doing something with his fizzy water, and he's completely satisfied with it. And he's funny because this kid eats what his parents eat, and they told me what they did is they first introduced him to savory. They didn't introduce sweet at first, they did savory, and that has made all the difference. So mothers, be not dismayed. You can retrain your child's palate, or you can just start them off on the right path so that what they're craving is food that is good for them.
And these aren't cookies, so you don't have to worry about them being close to one another. They can just be close.
Yeah.
Because
these are just going in the fridge or freezer. And we're getting through these really quickly. Mm-hmm. So we don't have time to put it in the refrigerator, but I'm going to take a bite. Once these are done, you see how easy that is? Super easy.
I know my kids will enjoy making this. Absolutely, because they love anything that they can kind of work with their hands.
Yeah, I think we're to our last couple. Many hands make light work. And it is 8:30, so we're already out of time. That went by quickly, didn't it?
That did, oh my goodness.
It went by quickly. So these are our quinoa energy bites. These are full of fiber. I would say something, but it might gross you guys out. You will understand how much fiber is in these. If you eat them, there will be evidence that you've eaten quinoa. And that's great because it really does what it's supposed to do. All right. We are done. Tell me what it tastes.
That honestly tastes good. And I'm a candy bar girl.
Yummy, yummy. So let me taste one. So again, these would go into the refrigerator for about 30 minutes or your freezer. These are good. And if you wanted to, honestly, you could drop a couple of these in a bowl and pour some nut milk on it, some plant milk.
Absolutely see how this would be as a porridge as
It'll
well.
be a delicious porridge. You can just, you're welcome,
Hi, Laura.
You can just put this on the stove, use some hot plant milk, pour it over it. Remember, we don't use the microwave. We avoid it. This actually turned out really good.
It is good.
So you have the recipe, you have the directions. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll see you next week on Reclaiming Your Health. Bye-bye.